Hello friends, and welcome to Figure Study, where we are taking a look at another throwback that is not far back enough to be considered G1, obviously, but that is Armada Tidal Wave. And I'm going to be upfront, I love this thing, it is great, and one of my favorite acquisitions from this year being 2019. It's just fun to mess with. I like having three different vehicles that can combine into one big vehicle and also a robot. It's neat. I don't know. It's cool. I like what it does. You readjust this so we can get a little bit more of a detailed look at these vehicles here. First one that's obvious, some kind of aircraft carrier, then I guess this is like a destroyer, battleship or something like that has two pontoons for some reason. And then maybe a hovercraft? I don't really know. I never watched the show, so I don't know what all these vehicles are supposed to be, but it is cool that he can turn into his own kind of tiny fleet. Though I say tiny, realistically, when you look at these things up close, you can see the little bridge sections are actually rather small. So these vehicles are probably meant to be rather large. Granted, they're not really in proportion with each other because, like, if you look at the bridge on this thing, it's super duper tiny. So this thing should probably be significantly bigger than these two, but it's toys, you know? It has to be a physical thing. So let's take a look at these things one by one, starting with this hovercraft thing. And there's some nice molding in here, nice coloration. I like the gray and the copper, actually. That's a nice combination. Of course, nice Decepticon-y purple. Bright orange is, you know, take it or leave it. But overall, looks good. I like the swept forward wings, too. That's always like an appealing detail when it comes to wings for me, for some reason. And what may or may not be wood paneling on the deck, I don't know. It's definitely weird, but nicely detailed, nicely molded. Even on the underside. This thing, I feel like it'd be fun to go in and like paint all the little details on to make him seem even more huge. Or possibly panel lining, I don't know. It does have that weird gimmick that other people have pointed out where you can open this up and fold out some little mini-con seats. And that's fine, I guess. It's a little strange, but sure. It's also kind of funny when you think about it because, you know, the mini-cons are supposed to be super small, but then they'd still be huge compared to the bridge, so yeah. I don't know. But there we have that with like a little Decepticon symbol there that is actually engraved in. I don't know, the shape is weird. It's kind of like just a giant flat box with tiny wings on it. It seems more like I said, a hovercraft where it's meant to more glide across the surface of the water rather than actually fly, but it's a cartoon about transforming robots, so if it wants to fly, it can fly. Moving on to the battleship thing. From here back, I think it looks cool. I'm not super into the pontoons, both because it's not entirely clear if these are supposed to be windows in the front. Like, molding-wise, it looks like they could be, but then the gradation, maybe not. And also, that green is atrocious. Doesn't ruin the toy or anything like that, but it's not a great color. Also, there's none of this green in this guy, which is kind of a shame. Also, there's no gold or bronze or copper or whatever in this. So right off the bat, you got some colors that just aren't matched up. You got the same purples and the same oranges and the same grays, and silver. Well, I guess okay, you do have a little bit of that copper, but it doesn't look quite right on the green versus on like a less gross color. As with the other vehicle, this thing's got some really nice molding all around. And again, I think doing some panel lining would make it look massive. And another etched-in Decepticon logo right there. And, of course, all these guns. The detailing on this is good. I'm not super fond of the giant mass of green. And the overall shape is a little weird. And I know that's not how it actually works, but it kind of looks like a robot torso with little stumpy legs. Not the best. Probably definitely the weakest of the three vehicles. Then we have the strongest of the three vehicles, the aircraft carrier, which, while small and disproportionate, still looks great. Has lots of really nice molding, including this really, really nice, large, embossed Decepticon logo right in front there. That's really cool. Loving the detailing. Subtle colors with like the not pinstriping, but like the little orange lines going through it. You've got that dark gray in places that kind of matches the dark gray of the other vehicles. None of that copper or silver, though, which, again, it just kind of, I don't know. I don't know why they didn't carry the colors through as much. And then it's got that kind of offensive green color, but it's a very small bit, and it's kind of hidden by the lip here. So it doesn't bother me as much. And on the back, it looks like he's got giant boosters or something. And again, even the underside, lots of nice molding. And again, I think it'd look great with the like panel lining done. It does do this thing where you can push the bridge down to pull out this little clip thing that I guess is supposed to attach to Armada Megatron, but I don't have Armada Megatron, and I've seen that combination and it looks really dumb, so just gonna leave it like this. But one thing that's really cool that this guy does is he has a little elevator for aircraft, like I think all aircraft carriers actually do have something like this, because, you know, you can't keep the jets on deck all the time. That popped off. But yeah, has a little working elevator. It actually has some of that copper detail hidden on the inside, so okay then. And you get a little mini-con. Oh, some molding in there too. You get the little mini-con. I forget this guy's name, or rather I never knew this guy's name, but put it right there. And it's a pretty effective little jet. Simple coloring, but it works, and it's got that nice Decepticon-y purple. Some more of that copper that does contrast nicely with the purple, and then that kind of neon orange, which I'm not super crazy about, but it's okay. To transform him, just straighten this out, pop out his feet, bring down his arms, and hinge his wings back. You can see there's even some nice molded detail in his midsection there, and what looks like another face in his stomach. I don't know. But then you can hinge this down, not down, hinge this back. Can you tell I haven't transformed this guy in a while? And there is the little mini-con. Some really nice molding in there. Not a lot in the way of articulation or anything, but I mean, it's a mini-con. I don't really care. But he's cute and tiny, and we will do a size comparison with him in a bit. But yeah, not too shabby. I just think this is kind of a neat accessory, and I like that it can just store right in here, stay out of the way. That's pretty cool. Okay, so let's do some size comparisons with the vehicles here, just to get that taken care of. So here they are with the Standard Deluxe, and you can see each vehicle is actually a little bit bigger than a Standard Deluxe. And here they are with the duck tank. Alright, so let's turn this fleet into a battleship. Now, because this is an older toy and the transformation's more simple, just do it without speeding it up. So first off, simple thing with the aircraft carrier bit, just click these out a little bit and put that off to the side. For this, you want to open up the pontoons. There we go. Open up the pontoons and plug these bits right in here. And there. And then just push it all in so that it's angled in like so. You can already kind of see how it's coming together. Now this thing is very simple. Just open it up in the middle there, and this clip will clip around this bit here. And lastly, this comes in, and when this comes in, there's actually there's this little kind of hook here that will hook underneath part of the lip here, and that will keep this bit kind of solidly in place. There we go. It also helps to kind of nudge this out of the way just so that you have a little bit of space to work with. So get that lined up and in, and then recenter this, and that will lock these in place so you don't have to worry about them flopping around. And there we have this enormous thing. And this is cool. As I said, I like that this set is a set, but it gives you the individual vehicles and then one giant battleship, and that's really cool. And this looks neat. The color disparity doesn't bother me as much here, and I kind of like the fact that the darker gray is mostly in the back. Like the darker grays and purple mostly in the back, and then you've got more lighter gray up front, but then a little bit of the dark gray coming in here, and then you've got a little bit of that orange kind of sprinkled throughout, and also some of the purple, where you've got that enormous Decepticon logo front and center. It ties together really nicely. I'm still not super into that really terrible green color, but it does look good. And the overall shape of the vehicle is really cool too. It does strike me as a little funny how it's got 3 bridges throughout the whole thing, but it's okay. Oh, one thing I forgot to show off, because I don't normally show off gimmicks and stuff like that, but because this is an older, simpler toy, I figure why not. The Minicon can plug in right there, and by moving the Minicon back and forth, you get the guns moving, which is it's a thing. This thing is great. I mean, it's got all the exact same detail. Aside from right back here, there's nothing new really that's being revealed here. But again, the shapes just kind of merge together very nicely. And you end up with this very big, very cool looking battle cruiser thing. As I said, very big battle cruiser thing, because here it is with Standard Deluxe. And yeah, I mean, granted, given the way that the different details are on this thing, I feel like this car should be like a tiny speck if it was to be proportional, but, you know, it's a toy. It can't be. And here's the massive destroyer thing with the duck tank. Alright, I think that is going to do it for that, so let us turn this into a robot. First thing, gonna disengage these bits. Want to straighten these out, rotate them at what will be the hip, then rotate this bit around. There we go. These can fold forward, and then fold up these small flaps, fold up the big flaps, and then those kind of sit back down there, and then fold back what will become the heels and stand it up. Okay, with the legs taken care of, now we can move on to the arms. So we want to split the aircraft carrier all the way down, and these bits will hinge over. You kind of want to bring them up so that this little corner clears the spot there. Bring that around like that. Then for the arms, you want to rotate them, fold out the fingers and thumb. Let's give him his hands. Then rotate this entire section around. Oh, okay. Should have done that sooner. These little ports are getting in the way, so I'm just going to bring that out. And then we rotate it around, bring those back down. And lastly, just pop out his enormous looking head. It's not really enormous, but you all know what I mean. And there we have Armada Tidal Wave in robot mode, and I really, really dig this guy's look. I am a bit more partial to the Takara version's color scheme, which is more of like a gray and purple overall. It doesn't really have that noxious green everywhere, but in this mode the green doesn't bother me as much, because when they're in the individual vehicle modes, it's like primarily in one vehicle that you see it, and it's just kind of weird. In the combination, like in the big ship combination, it stands out, but it's not as bad. But like here, it's okay. I can deal with it, because you get it a little bit more spread out with like the head now, and then the shoulder pontoons and the fingers, which are actually more prominent. And it is also interesting how in the combined vehicle mode, all the darker gray was kind of more towards the back. Well, I should say the darker gray and the purple was mostly towards the back, with the lighter gray mostly up towards the front. And here, the darker gray and purple and copper is primarily in like the legs and torso section, and the lighter gray for the arms, so it almost kind of makes it look like he's wearing a sleeveless onesie or some kind of sleeveless jumpsuit. Still works, but it's interesting. And you also get more of that orange kind of peppered throughout, which does help. Again, I feel like doing some panel lining on this guy would make him come off as even more massive. There isn't a lot of new detail revealed, it's mostly stuff just kind of shifting around, but you do get some new detail in the thighs, which also have nice detail. This bit just kind of flips around, but it doesn't actually really reveal anything new. You get a more prominent look at the forearms, I guess, with some nice little detail right around the fingers there. And that's pretty much it for new details aside from the head. And on the back, it's pretty much all the details that were on the bottom of the vehicle modes. So on the topic of that head is pretty spectacular. It's weird, but like the head for me is what really makes him feel massive. Like the fact that his neck is so wide at the base and it just kind of comes up into a point. He's got a very monolithic looking face. He also is definitely not amused. I wouldn't expect a robot made up of an entire fleet of possibly Navy ships that is the size of several buildings stacked on top of each other to have much of a sense of humor, so I think that checks out. And he's got some nice mechanical detailing throughout, and the paint too. I like that they did the silver kind of accents on the ears, the chin, and the head crest there. And then that face is a really nice dark purple with the bright orange that we kind of see throughout that really, I don't know, it makes those eyes pop. Like, I feel like the eyes could have been lost next to this bright green here, but because it's kind of between the dark purple and the green and the silver, I think the eyes pop pretty nicely. And yeah, I don't know, Tidal Wave's just cool. He looks neat. He's definitely awkward. I mean, he's an older toy, he doesn't have a ton of articulation, and his proportions are a little bit weird. How he's got these enormous shins, skinny little thighs, no knees to speak of unless you count bending inward. And then, you know, enormous torso, enormous arms, but then the arms are a little bit stumpy looking. The chest is like broad in a way that looks a little bit weird. But it's the kind of awkward that I actually find to be really interesting. But anyway, now that he is a robot, we can do some robot size comparisons. Here he is with his mini-con, and that's pretty cute. Here he is towering over a Standard Deluxe, as I'm sure we all expected. And here he is with the duck tank. And that is going to do it for Armada Tidal Wave. Very, very cool. As I said, I am very, very into this. It's a fun set. I like that it's a set. I like that you've got two different options for alt modes. The robot mode looks imposing and is nice and large. I mean, you know, compared to what we've got now, it's not that huge, but still imposing. Yeah, I don't know what else I could say. I like Tidal Wave a lot. He's a little bit awkward in places, but still looks really cool. But anyway, that's going to do it for Tidal Wave here. What do you all think of this guy? Have any of you out there had him in the past or have him still, and what do you think? Do you prefer the Hasbro over the Takara colors or vice versa? Is there any kind of interesting fan moding that you all like to do with him? Because I've seen that some people do like base modes and stuff like that. Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. And while you're at it, also feel free to like, subscribe, or if you're feeling generous, you could buy me a coffee. Any of those things would make me a happy Rob. And remember, art is more than meets the eye.